It is important to understand a little bit the context of this gospel. It's continuation of the preaching of the Beatitudes, if we can call that part of the gospel. The first preaching of Jesus. And as you maybe will remember when we talked about the Beatitudes like 3 Sundays ago, we was talking and meditating that, but that time, the first preaching of Jesus about the Beatitudes, about joyful, happy, the people who do this, was completely new for the contemporaries. Because everyone in that time was more habituated to listen complaints, to listen about punishment, to listen about to be obedient of the law of God. If not, you will go to the hell, and things like this. As an example, the preaching of John the Baptist, who was always preaching about the punishment, that the axe is ready to cut everyone. When Jesus came, he started talking about love. He started talking about happiness. He started talking about joy. And of course, as you can imagine, so many people will approach to him and saying, oh, I like this guy. I prefer to listen this than the other kind of topics. And it's when Jesus switched and he started talking about this. Do not think that I came to abolish the law. No, but to fulfill. Now, the preaching of Jesus is not just to appoint the rule. He didn't came to abolish the law, but his preaching was to appoint the spirit of the law, who is behind the law, the intention of the law, the fulfillment of the law. And for this, we need to understand why we need to have commandments, why we need to have rules, why it's necessary to have the law. Well, it's easy to understand this in the very civil way. Can you imagine a country who will not have any rule? Can you imagine to drive in a city when there is no law about driving? It will be very dangerous. It will be very risky to get out. The rules, the law is to protect everyone, to save us. But the intention of the law of God is other, is higher than just a way to live in. For this, we need to understand the first reading. It's very clear. God created us with a singular purpose. If one time you ask this question to yourself, what is the purpose of my life? Why God created me? Well, this is the answer. Because God wants you to be happy. Because God wants you to experience the love. This is why God created you in his likeness, in his image, so that you can experience the joy as he can give you, to have communion with him. But looks like we as humans, we are not very smart. And the freedom that God gives us, well, we choose the opposite way. God cannot force us to be happy. It's impossible. You cannot force any person to be happy. It's impossible. In the same way, you cannot force anyone to love you. If you force that person, will lose the freedom, and eventually, if they don't have freedom, they don't have possibilities to enjoy their life. So God gives us freedom to choose the correct way. As the first reading, God says, I place in front of you life or death, fire and water. Choose what you want. It's our decision. But eventually, as the experience of the human being in the earth shows, we didn't choose the happiness. We choose always the immediately thing that can give us a pleasure. For example, if we are very smart, I'm not generalizing, If we are very smart, as we recall the human being, the majority of the people who has diabetes will not have problems because they will be able to postpone to eat the donut for to get good health in the future. If we are very smart, we'll be able to make exercise every day, even if there is a little painful, to enjoy the rest of our life with a good health. But looks like we don't distinguish between happiness and pleasure. We always look for the immediately things, and the pleasure is something that you can get quickly, something that is in the flesh, in the surface of the flesh. It's not very deep, something that doesn't require any commitment, and something that will extinguish very quickly. On the contrary, the happiness is something deep, is something that requires commitment, but once you arrive to that stage, no one can take the happiness, the joy from you. Well, when the humans was looking always for the immediately things, for the things who are perishable, for the things who only can help them in the first moment, and they forgot the entire purpose of the life, God give us the commandments to help us to distinguish between what is good and what is bad, between what is really good for us in the future, to distinguish what is valuable. But it's just like a tool for us to discern what is good and what is bad. I give you this example, very simple example. Imagine, please try to imagine, and it's very easy answer. Yesterday, no one answered, so hopefully you can answer this. Imagine a kid for 3 years old, 4 years old. What you will do if you saw that kid playing with a very sharp knife? Take it away. You are exactly the same as yesterday. Did you wake up? I mean, what you will do with that kid? You will take away the knife, right? And you will say to that kid, don't play with the knife. You cannot touch the knife. You will give a commandment to that kid. Don't play with the knife. But after a few years, it's possible that that kid will grow and will become to be a chef and will be able to use the knife very well. You will not say to that man, don't play with the knife. Why? Because when he grew, he understood that the knife is not a toy. It's a tool, and he knows how to use it. For him, the commandment, don't play with the knife, passed away. Now he understands very well what is the purpose of the knife. It's really possible that when we read the commandments, we will have the impression like, oh, God give us so many prohibitions. Like, for example, the commandment of the not commit adultery. Oh, why God doesn't want us to commit adultery, and what God doesn't want us to do this and that. And we are like a kids that we don't understand. But once you grow, once you are mature, you will understand that is not a toy, that is a tool that you can use in a very wonderful way to enjoy your life, to protect you. But the commandments appoint that discernment. It's not just for a good living. This is the most basic thing. The commandments appoint the spirit. It's like, for example, there is a commandment who says, you should not kill. What is the spirit of that commandment? The respect of the life. Well, maybe someone will say, okay, I will not kill my brother, but I will hit him very well so that he can learn that will not have bad business with me. No, of course not. That person can say, I don't kill him, but also you don't live the spirit of the law. That is the respect of the life. It's more than just this. The question for us today is, do we understand the commandments? Do we understand the spirit of the law? In what way we are living our spiritual life, our life? choosing the most surface level, like just to survive in this world, just keeping the commandments in the most basic things? Or we do really understand the Spirit to fulfill and to enjoy the life? As an example, the commandment to come to Mass every Sunday. You came because it's an obligation, because the tradition forced you, because you are scared of a punishment, or because you truly understand that it's important to have at least 1 hour per week to meditate in your life, to see and to listen the voice of God, and to have this kind of confrontation with you, and to also remember that you was created for something bigger than this earth. Why is your attitude when you fulfill the commandments? Like a little child who feels that they are losing their freedom, or like a mature person that understands the real meaning of freedom? Jesus didn't came to abolish the law, but to fulfill it. And to fulfill it means to appoint to the spirit of the law the most high level of to living. St. Augustine summarized this part of the gospel with one very beautiful sentence that I am sure for so many of us we are very far for to truly understand. St. Augustine says, love and do whatever you want. It's really possible that someone will say, well, this is easy. No, truly, love. Because when you love, you always will protect yourself, and you always will protect the other person. Love. Because when you truly love, you always will look the goodness of the other person and also your goodness too. Because love always will make us better. So this is the high level of the law. And this is what Jesus preached. Not only to fulfill the commandments like the children's, that they only listen, no play, don't do this, don't run, don't. But like an adult people who can distinguish what really is the purpose of everything and to enjoy this. This is why Jesus always starts preaching about love, about happiness, about joy, about the real meaning of the law. This is the purpose of our life. But remember, the happiness is your decision. God placed in front of you the good and the bad, the fire and the water, the life and the death. Is your decision to choose what you will take. A child can say, oh, I am not happy because my father doesn't allow me to play with the knife. I am not happy because they didn't give me permission to watch TV. I am not happy because they didn't give me candy. It's a mentality of a children, right? As an adult people, I hear sometimes, I am not happy because the government. I am not happy because the economy. I am not happy because wherever, my wife, my husband, my children. No. You will realize that the happiness only depends on you. Because whatever you say that you need for to be happy, believe me, there are so many people who has, and even they are not happy. The happiness is your decision when you choose wisely the way of your living. Please let us stand.